We're going to report out there were no votes taken in the executive session. Correspondence, let's see, Mrs. Picard, do you want to handle it?
So tonight we have some of the girls and boys coaches and teams for the tennis. Early this year, Jerry Rubino had contacted myself, and I know he talked with Mayor Lombardi regarding the conditions of the tennis courts, as did several parents and some students. They also, I believe, contacted Mr. Palmieri. So the town had wrote a grant and received some funding for the tennis courts to be fixed, and I spoke with Mayor Lombardi last week to ask that those funds be allocated specifically and to make sure at least minimum the Stephen-only tennis courts would take priority. So he has assured me that upon return to the town hall this week that he would speak with Lois Barbieri to make sure that everyone was clear that that was a priority. I know Melinda spoke with him as well last week. She returned last week. So I know Melinda spoke with him as well, and I spoke with Mr. Rubino, and I know many of you here to speak on that issue, but I want to assure everybody here that we're going to put the safety of the girls and the boys first and foremost to make sure that that problem gets solved. But we would love to hear any comments that you would like to make, but I want to make sure that you know that your safety is our priority.
Thank you very much. Any students that want to speak? Oh, let's see.
We have two people who have signed up to address the committee.
Jerry Rubino, Jerry? Just two, right? Sure. We're going to make sure they have time to do their homework, these kids.
Okay. Thank you very much for hearing us tonight. I've been the tennis coach at North Providence High School since 1991. Mrs. Picard was on the first team that I've ever coached. Is one of my players, and we've been at Stephen-only Park since it opened. We were at Ritchie School. Those were our home courts before Stephen-only Park was built. But the courts have been deteriorating for about the last 10 years. We've had, the Department of Public Works has worked very well with us. They have fixed the courts as best they could. They filled the cracks in. But, as they told me, and they know it's just a Band-Aid approach. It probably lasts about a season, and then it's back to where it was, if not worse. About 3 years ago, a boy at North Providence High School, a student who was actually on the boys tennis team, his name was Danny Charles. He did a community service project for his Eagle Scouts, and his community service project was to fix up Stephen-only Park. For 2 weeks, the girls and boys tennis team worked in the summer. They filled the cracks. They painted the courts. They did a tremendous job. But again, it was just a Band-Aid approach. It lasted for one season, and then it was back, and if not worse than what it was. Now, I've had the privilege of coaching pretty much on every court in this state since I've been a coach since 1989. And I can say without hesitation that Stephen-only Park are the worst conditioned courts that a high school team plays on. The cracks are very, very deep. The balls hit the cracks during matches, during points. It's like a pinball machine, watching the balls fly all over the place. But now it's gotten to the point where it's a safety issue, and it's much more than aesthetics and the way it looks. It's a safety issue. The girls are stepping on, in the cracks. They're slipping, they're tripping, and it's a matter of time before a serious injury is going to occur. Thank God it hasn't occurred yet. And with us tonight, I'm so happy. I have 16 of my players that showed up, 6 of our parents. The boys tennis coach, Mr. Centracchio, was here, so I'm really glad with the support that they've shown. It's kind of what brought us here tonight is we heard that, there was a grant out there, but it was going to be used originally for Noddy Park and for Ivan Street. Now, those are public courts, and I'm not saying that that's not important, and because it certainly is, but Stephen-only Park, besides being a public court, is also the home tennis courts of North Providence High girls and boys varsity team. So if you had to, prioritize, I would think that should be a priority, because the high school does use that for two sports. There are 4 courts there. Yeah, that's where you can't play a home match unless you have a minimum of 4 courts. Yeah, that's right in the bylaws. So that's really what I came to say. One of my players, Michaela Finaro, would like to.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. Absolutely. Michaela?
Hello, I'm Michaela Fernaro, a sophomore at North Providence High School. I've been playing tennis for the school for the past 2 seasons. Before I came to the high school, I had only played on indoor courts with no cracks. Granted that indoor courts are better protected from the extremities of New England weather, playing on courts with and without cracks has made me realize how important playing on well-kept courts is. Keeping the Stephen-only courts the way they are presents a huge safety issue. Some of the cracks are large enough to trip on or twist an ankle, and in these 2 seasons alone, I've seen more injuries than any team would deem acceptable. The cracks not only affect players physically, but they are a mental distraction too. I've played for coaches who stand strongly behind the saying that tennis is 90% mental and 10% physical. Much of the game is spent strategizing, observing your opponent, and playing to their weakness. With their minds on the cracks and trying to avoid tripping on one, a player's attention is often pulled away from the game and is instead focused on a flaw that puts both teams at a disadvantage. Since the Stephen-only tennis courts are probably the most used courts in the town, with 2 tennis teams from the high school and many residents from the town using them due to their easy accessibility and the amount of space there is to use, fixing these courts would be a more beneficial use of the grant. Thank you for your time.
Michaela, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Jerry Rubino, the coach, Mr. Sandracchio. I know he's here somewhere. I just saw him. Okay. Nice to see you. And rest assured, it looks like this issue is going to be addressed, okay? So does anyone else want to say anything on that? I guess we're all set. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you so much. Thank
And your concerns will be addressed. Thank you.
Okay,
You guys can leave anytime you want, okay?
go get your homework done. Our next section is the superintendent report. Very loud feedback. First off, we have Mr. Izzy and Mr. Laurie here to, I don't know if I can, to present the Cougar Cause project. So the
we have some pamphlets for you. I mean, look at them at your leisure. It's concerning, one of them is a fact sheet about bullying, and the other one is our actual program that we do, the Cougar Paws program. My name is Eric Izzy. I'm a social studies teacher here at the high school, and Mr. Laurie and I, about probably in 2012, Andrew, we decided to start the Cougar Paws Project. What the Cougar Paws Project is North Providence High School's anti-bullying awareness. And as you know, as pretty much bullying is one of these issues that affects every single school in every city, you know, every state throughout the country. And interestingly, when I was kind of looking up a little bit, some information on this, I came across this definition from the Center for Disease Control, out of all places, that basically defines bullying as, let's find it here, the unwanted aggressive behavior to an observed or perceived power imbalance. Very wordy, very clinical kind of definition. But the fact that the Center for Disease Control is chiming in on this issue of bullying goes to show that it's no longer just a rite of passage, as people say, or one of these issues that, you know, often you'll hear boys will be boys or makes you tougher. It's actually an epidemic in our school. So Andrew and I, we wanted to address this issue. We wanted to, you know, every time you turn on the TV, you hear about some teenager who takes his or her life because they've been brutally bullied. And this is no way for a student, whether they're middle school students, high school students, elementary schools, even adults, to go through life having to feel, you know, disempowered by somebody else, having this imbalance of having somebody, you know, poke at their weaknesses. So we wanted to think of a new way of trying to create this program for the kids to get them involved. And Mr. Laurie, who's been doing, 50 years of martial arts, about 20, of martial arts thought, what's the best way to help, a student or a child deal with bullying is build your confidence. Make yourself almost, I should say, like verbally bulletproof. So Mr. Laurie came up with this very creative, very innovative approach to an anti-bullying program. You want to?
How you doing? Well, I'm not really good with microphones, so I'll just talk with that one. My name's Andrew Laurie. I've been teaching here since 2009, has it been?
Yeah, we both
Roughly. And as Mr. Izzy said, I'm also in the social studies department. We started the Cougar Paws Project because this is a big issue. Again, when we were younger, not a big deal, just something you had to deal with, right? The problem is that it has real effects on us. It can change you for your entire life. I know me personally, I was subject to bullying, whether it was in the family or in the schools, in even sports teams. And for me, martial arts was kind of my aha moment. I started taking martial arts. It developed my self-confidence. It just let me be okay with me, and it brought me out of my shell. And now I'm a teacher, so I stand in front of people all day long in the limelight, with the harshest critics in the world, kids, exactly, right? So this has totally changed my worldview. Now I've done tons of different martial arts. Since I was 12 years old, I've been doing them. And the one I've been doing for the past 15 years now is something called, I'm just going to call it Nimpo. It's got a really long name, but I'm just going to call it Nimpo. And basically it's going to sound really stupid, but it's actually a martial art that was developed by the infamous ninja. So I know, ninja, right? But it's true. Now, of all the martial arts that you could take, ninjutsu or Nimpo is probably the best one for someone who's being bullied, because they were bullied. They were bullied by the samurai, the biggest, the strongest, had the most money, the best food. And these guys were just up in the hills. They were trying to survive, protect their families. So the whole philosophy, if you guys look at this pamphlet here, this symbol right next to our little cute Cougar Paws symbol is something called, the nin symbol or shinobi. And essentially what that means is patience, endurance, regardless of what's going on. Actually, if you look at the kanji itself, the bottom part actually means spirit or heart, and the top part actually means a cutting blade. So even though my heart or my spirit is under the knife or under the cutting blade, I will endure. I will do whatever I have to do to keep going. So that's kind of our motto, is keep going, no matter what. So what I've kind of done, and what we have done, and what we're trying to build here, is this thing where we're trying to spread this idea of confidence, trying to make it okay for kids to see that they can be themselves and they can be confident in who they are, and not be afraid of it and not apologize for it. So this is what we're doing. We're now trying to proactively be those ninjas in the school who subtly try to influence the culture of the school. So if someone sees something bad going on, they're not going to walk away. They're going to, even if it's subtle, let someone know. Stand up for the kid. Get the kid out of the situation. And even if it happens to us, we're going to know how to handle it. So it's just kind of a subtle thing that we're trying to do.
Excuse me, did you say you were bullied in elementary school or? Well, yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I grew like 6 inches when I went to college. So that-
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine anyone bullying you. Right.
that was pre-college.
Oh, okay, all right.
But
No,
even
no, I understand. Yeah, right.
There's always something.
All right. No, this is a very interesting program you guys put together. Yeah,
If it would be cool, I'd like to have Will and
Sure.
talk about it.
sure.
How are you? My name's William Schrank. Joined this group. I've noticed bullying here and there. I never really thought anything of it. It just happens. You see it. Someone's getting made fun of in the hall. You just kind of walk by. I started getting sick of it, and then all of a sudden I heard this year that Mr. Laurie started to do a group called Cougar Paws. I know they had Cougar Paws before, but it wasn't to this level. This is like thinking of how to get kids out of the way of bullies, completely redirecting them, getting them without them even knowing that we're helping them. And it just sparked an interest in me. And I just feel it's a great topic to even think about. And Val here is doing her senior project on bullying, and she would like to talk to you about it.
So my name's Valerie. For my senior project this year, I decided to do bullying, which is not very common. When I talked to about like a lot of teachers and stuff like that, when I brought it to administration, they were kind of confused. It's not a very talked about topic, even in school, not just projects. It's just something people are like, oh, okay, it's bullying. It's very common. It's just something people talk about a lot. Now, the reason I wanted to do bullying was because it's not very talked about, and because it is a bigger problem than what it seems to be. Now, being in high school for 4 years, you see a lot of it on a day-to-day basis. Going through it personally is very different. So personally myself, and a lot of my friends have been through bullying. It's not a very good place. So knowing what it's like, I wanted to work with Cougar Paws and wanted to work with Mr. Laurie, Mr. Izzy, to make sure that kids had a place to go. Because when you're in that spot, I know what it feels like. It's very lonely. It's very self-demeaning, and kids lose a lot of confidence. And it's kind of hard to get out of that, because once you're in that, it's very, very hard. So that was the whole point of Cougar Paws, was to show kids that there is a way out, that there is a way to bring back that confidence, and just give kids and show them that it is okay and everything will be okay.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say, Val is actually one of the founding members when we first started this. She was here as a freshman, and she was getting right into it. It's, you know,
First-hand experience, right? Yeah. Thank you. Any members of the committee have any questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah. Very interesting.
Thank you for volunteering your time for a worthy cause as well. Thank you. Next, under Superintendent's report, we will table Melinda's presentation on the strategic plan update. So moving to, how do you get rid of it? I guess so. Okay, so now, excuse the new person.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Item number 2, be resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote approve the financial report as submitted.
I have a couple of questions. My first question is, okay, so it's a reverb. The first question is about the maintenance merger. We pay $8,000 a month, so that's $96,000 a year. And we also pay for vendors for snow. So far, I'm just on the right track here. And we pay for vendors for trees. I saw that in your report. We're going to be paying for vendors to take out trees. These are like dead trees, or because I remember a few years ago, it might have been Northeastern who came in and was on the school properties. We never knew about it. And next thing you know, all the trees in front of Maryville, the trees that we used to use on the baseball field as they blocked all the foul balls, were all gone. I assume these are trees that have been assessed and need to be because they're too close to the buildings. What other things are we vendoring? Because in the past, when we had Mr. Malazzo, who was not making $96,000 a year, it seems to me nothing's changed. We still had vendors who snow plowed and did other things for us. What else? Do you have any other anticipated vendors that we're going to use? And I'm not seeing the savings. And if you can't answer me now, getting back to me is fine.
I think, I think the use of outside vendors, for example, we used the roofing company that put up the roof at the high school. to shovel off the roofs. As you know, what happened in Smithfield, one of the custodians wound up going through the skylight down 12 feet. So, and the last time we had to shovel the roofs, we had a workers' comp claim. And no, so I basically told Jimmy that I don't want these guys up on the roof. I want to do it. But that was expensive. That was about $36,000. Now the snow plowing, we bid that out. And we do that every year. We just don't have the equipment. We may in the future, depending on, and now that the town has this plethora of trucks, we may decide that we can do it better with the use of the town. But, you know, the maintenance is always kind of, you know, depends. When you look at this high school, a lot of the heating systems, and I'm sure Mike, you know how to clear a room, buddy. I know that, but but you know that, you know, we've got these leaks now. We had to call the trust because we had some problems. We had to bring people up on the roofs, and some of that's going to be covered by insurance. But for example, today we had a frost heave over at Birchwood that's going to prevent kids from leaving the auditorium. So we had to bring a vendor in. It's not going to cost. It's like $1,300, but we have to get it done so those doors can open. These kids can get out of the auditorium. So you don't know when some of these things are going to come up, but some of the routine vendors that have been used in the past, and again, this is the reason why we've got a $16 million health and safety project, because a lot of these systems are just old, and you just don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
No, I understand that, and I know you went to bid on the snow plowing. And so the $8,000 we pay a month is for our share of.
Well, we had gone through this when we did the merger, and that was going to be basically we used the town maintenance personnel. So, for example, Kenny Khaleesi, we'll use whatever the town maintenance people have. So if we need 3 or 4, we would then use 3 or 4 people to do a particular project. So, and that also covers a little bit of cost of Jim Ferroli as well, too, to serve as the director of the buildings as well.
My next question about the financial report has to do with the charters. And you indicated enrollment is up. And I think my recollection is they get per pupil expenditure, which includes out of district busing and all the other things we have. Plus they get the state aid piece. And I just recently read that there was a new mayoral academy that came on board, and a fellow, I'm going to get to the question in a minute, and a fellow went in the newspaper over here why we need to protect our charters, and he talks about, you know, people shouldn't have to live in a zip code, but then this charter only services 3 communities, so I suppose that zip code approved, and North Providence is one of them. I don't remember hearing any public hearings about that the last time there was a mayoral academy that affected North Providence. The fellow who wrote it in the newspaper also failed to report that they have a $4,000 lobbyist down at the State House that they pay for this. My question is, are we aware of the O'Grady bill, the hearings? Are we participating in that to bring back in line this charter per pupil expenditure plus the state aid, which comes right off the top of our budget? And you know, last month I talked about the algorithm, and our per pupil expenditure is the quotient, and it's high. It's high because of all the factors that are in it, including paying their tuitions.
So the O'Grady bill, the superintendent and I met with Representative O'Grady and talked about the issues. We not only talked about the charters, but we also talked about the out of district, because when you talk about the sped out of district, that number is even much more significant in terms of the overall cost. Because when you looked at that number on the budget, where we have about $1,290,000 of out of district busing for sped, we only get you got to take 5 off that, so we have less than 60 students. That's costing us almost as much as our in-district busing. So you kind of forget that fact when you're looking at some of those other operating costs. Now, we also talked to them about the fact that a lot of the charter schools don't take the special education students. They don't take the difficult students to handle. So from that standpoint, we've had some input on that. And in our particular case, if you take, what do we have, 50 some odd students that are in the charter? If you were to bring them back, obviously it would cost us some money. We would probably look at, maybe you'd have to add a teacher here and there, I'm not sure. But, our issue is, we don't have any room. If
Well,
you took any of these kids back at the elementary level, we would be paying overages as well. So
However,
we have to keep that in mind. Now, an overage might cost
yeah,
3,000 to 4,000 per kid. So it'd be less than what we're paying in.
and your per pupil expenditure would go down
Absolutely, absolutely.
because you just took into, you just built into your divisor 200 more. And in your dividend, you reduced it. So your quotient would be less, your per pupil expenditure would go down. That's why I keep saying it's a false number.
But I think this goes back to the right to choose. And that was.
That's not my concern, the right to choose. My concern is who pays for it, and we're paying an exorbitant amount. We're not paying a fair share. We're paying more than a fair share because it's based on a false number called the per pupil expenditure. And that's my point. And I know that's reflected here in your financial report. I just hope we stay on it because it's not sustainable.
Well, next year, but as we discussed, the vocational ones are even more significant.
When they weren't charging, what they take, 5, 6 kids a year from North Providence? Now that they are, they'll take anybody who puts their name on a sheet of paper. Go figure.
I think we got 55 or so from the high school now.
Yeah, and this is directly, in my thinking, this is on purpose, not just Davies, the whole piece, and it's tied into the fair funding, it's tied into Achievement First, and all of that stuff that's coming in, that was promulgated by the lady who now is leaving, and we have to go pick up all the pieces. So this was on purpose, and this is putting big holes in people's budgets. When the first mayoral academy came around, we all voted, or they did, I wasn't on the school committee, they voted to send something to the Board of Regents and say no, all 7. Town council did the same thing, all 7, but it was passed 4-3.
Well, and I think the funding formula does attempt to take that into consideration, because when they give us a number for the following year, they also say you're going to anticipate some increases in your charters. So they're taking that out. So the number that we see in that, let's say $1.6 million or whatever that number was, that's the gross number. That doesn't take into consideration the increase that we have in the charters. And
Well, my point is, I thank you for the information. My point is, I'd just like to make sure we stay on this issue because the way I'm looking at it is it's not a dollar for dollar thing. The per pupil expenditure, I teach school. If I got 27 kids, if one leaves tomorrow, the expense of running my classroom is the same. There's no up, there's no down. The lights are the same, the insurances are the same, the heating my building is the same, I'm the same. So where does the 10.9, the 10.8, or whatever number they're coming from? It doesn't come from that kid. It's an artificial number.
right, but I think as an elected body and school committee, you probably need to talk to your representatives and make sure that they're going to deal with those.
I agree.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah.
It's absolutely, but if it comes from school department leadership, at least it won't be falling on deaf ears.
Oh, no, but we're participating in that. But for example, we'll get bills in and we go through the bills and we find out these kids live in Providence. But the charters don't care because they'll whether they grab it from Providence or they get it from us, it doesn't matter. But in our case, it does.
And never mind when they kick them back to you in October and they still want their money, plus the state aid piece.
Can I go back to my seat now? Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't mean to take up the committee's time, but I think these are issues that we all need to be aware of. And I still think it's a bait and switch. They tell you one thing and then the other, the hand is out and the money's going and it's not going to our kids, it's going somewhere else.
That's a point well taken, I think, yeah. But Mr. McNamee is always willing to answer questions at any time.
He's the best.
This is a love fest.
It's on the record. Mrs. Caranci.
Okay, we got to vote. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Next item. We do not have any homeschool requests tonight. Item number 4, be resolved that the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee, consider and vote the approved field trip request as submitted.
Moved by Mrs. McCart, seconded by Mr. Ryanetta. Question, all those in
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
No, that was it. I'd like to table item number 5. We do not have an appointment for the crossing guard supervisor. As well with number 6, I recommend that we table number 6 and not amend or change our current snow day calendar.
Translation, we're adding days to the end of the year as makeups.
Correct. Right now, we have an approved calendar that was already approved by the
Correct.
school committee that does add on 5 days to the end
That's
of the
where-
school year for the
that's
snow
where we
days. We are currently at 5. Our last day of school is June 22nd. We did have some preliminary discussion and surveying parents and teachers and staff on some possible options. And based on feedback from the body as well as the commissioner's office, we cannot guarantee that that would be approved and able to be implemented by Monday.
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm glad that we're just putting the days at the end. I think that's the best use of that.
Next item.
Item number 7, as well, we do not have any job descriptions to approve tonight, so we can table that item. Number 8, be resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent and the North Providence School Committee, consider and vote to approve the submissions of the $15,876,259 for the North Providence immediate health and safety projects to RIDE as submitted.
We need a motion by Mrs. Picard,
Second?
seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion? That's 15 million, right, John? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Item number 9, if Mr. McNamee would be so kind to come back to the podium. We have an update on the Facilities Building Committee.
Earning your money tonight, John.
I think, well, part of that 15 million is what RIDE has suggested was that our stage 2 application, which went in for the 75 million, they suggested we split that up. First of all, by putting in the health and safety, we take that component out for any competitive, any competition down the road for housing aid dollars. So they suggested we pull that out. And what I intend to do is hopefully get that funded this year with bonds from the town. And I'm working with the town now to see if we can do that without having to go to a voter referendum. That would leave us with the 60 million for the new construction, which the committee believed might be best deferred until FY16, being an election year. We wouldn't be in a position where we'd have to go out and try to sell get the voters out, because it's going to be a mayoral election. The voters are going to be coming out, so we'll be able to just present our story as opposed to trying to go out and get the voters to come and vote, as well as to present our story. It also gives us a little bit more time to put together a good presentation and to go out and meet with the PTOs and with taxpayers and really sell the story. So the committee, and again, with the moratorium being lifted May 1st, we probably would not be in a position where we'd be able to get that through this year, which I had hoped to do. So it gives us a little bit more time to kind of defer that into the following year. So we would intend probably at this time next year to go to the Board of Education for approval for the 60 million for the new construction, get legislative approval for that, and then take that to the taxpayers in the November 16 election.
Okay, John, thank you. Any questions, anyone? Okay.
Okay. That was just an update.
Okay.
We already voted on the
Yeah.
approval of the project, and that was just John's update.
Okay, there's a request to address the committee from a committee member, Mr. Silva?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Last month I spoke at length about a couple of issues, and I think someone got the impression that I was anti-North Providence, but school system, that's certainly not true. Fully support what we do here in all of the schools. Being critical of practices at the state level that filter down doesn't mean I'm critical of the schools. And for instance, we all like to stand and accept accolades if the North Providence High School is commended. It doesn't mean it's just a kneecap test. There's a lot of issues that go into that. But my point last month that I was trying to make, and several points, but more specifically about the testing, was the fact that it's always a moving target. Now, I have an article that I looked at in the newspaper. It pretty much took all my points and somebody wrote about them. And the issue I'm having with POC testing, and I think people are hearing it all over, and I'm not talking about opting out or anything like that, is very time consuming and nebulous. It's confusing and it's expensive. It's driven by corporations, and it was part of Race to the Top. If it wasn't for Race to the Top, we wouldn't be doing POC. And it's a funny name, Race to the Top. Why didn't they call it like Climb to the Top or Reach for the Top or Achieve the Top? Why does it have to be a race? Every month we get people come up here and say, you got to be your own person. Water seeks its own level. We're all trying to get along, and all of a sudden we're killing each other and racing to the top. So I'm not understanding why Race to the Top is and that funded all of this. I would like to, and I'm not doing it tonight, and I'm not going to read the article. I had some quotations, but I'd like to almost put a couple of POC items up there and say, okay, school committee members and members of the community, that would be you, Mike, let's read this one about Assateague and Chickateague, about the wild horses on the computer, which shows you, it's not the way we're trained to read, which shows you this little box, and you got to read all this stuff and go back and forth between two articles, and you read it 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 and you read it. And then they ask you a question that has nothing to do with either one of them. It's like, wait a minute, what POC or some of the math tests. I'm tempted to bring some of those in, Mr. Chairman, and give the school committee and the public a real dose of it, because I see it every day, and quite frankly, I'm not impressed by the POC at all. I think my biggest objection to it, and I'm abbreviating this presentation. I think my biggest objection to it is we're trying to buttonhole kids who are 8 and 9 and 10, that you're ready for college, you're ready for a career. You're 8 and 9 and 10. Can I just be ready for tomorrow, or maybe ready for recess, or ready to hand my homework in, or ready to make growth? And one of my other objections is that we're not getting any results from this. We did a pilot last year, never got results. What was the point of that? It's my phone. If I give a practice test and don't give the kids back the results, well, how do they know how they did on the practice test? It's just not fair. And I don't think we're going to get any results from this for at least until 2017. So we're supposed to show growth, take this test, huge investment in technology in order to do it, so Pearson can make more money than any one of us are going to make. And those are some of my objections. I encourage everyone to read the editorial that was in Wednesday, February 25th, Providence Journal. It's called "A Manifesto Against POC Testing in Rhode Island," and it's got some very important points. And I think those are germane to here in Rhode Island, in North Providence.
Thank you very much.
That's the presentation. That's it.
Any other comments?
Who's the author of that? I read that.
The author is a Miss Sheila Ressinger of Cranston, a retired teacher from Rhode Island School of Death. And she adapted these POC testing statements with permission from Colleen Daly Martinez of Opt-Out State Standard Tests. I'm not encouraging anyone to opt out. I think they should live it and see what it really is. By the way, so we're not just taking it in March. We're taking it again at the end of the year. So here's the computers. You can only use them for testing. You got to practice with them. You got to go on them. You got to get all the bugs out. And then you take it twice. And you're not getting results for another year and a half. That's not good use of instructional time.
Yes, Mrs. Picard?
I agree with Rod that everyone should absolutely look at the assessment. I also think that we should not be using computers just for POC. I think one of the good things was that we finally got technology.
The reason we're using some computers just for Park is because if it's not aligned to Pearson's on the day of testing,
North Providence, I don't believe we're just using, there's any
No, no.
computer just designated.
if you go in and take a class to test for Park, they have to be formatted a certain way. And if you've gone in there and gummed up the works, half of them aren't going to work. Because you're trying to get, what, 35, 30
Okay,
of
so
them
are
out
we
at the
talking
same
about North
time?
Providence, or are we talking
I'm
about?
talking about Park in general. I don't know what computers you all use. I'm sure they're Dells.
No, I know, my understanding is North Providence, that all the technology that we currently have is being used for instructional purposes, and it will be used for Park, but we have nothing designated just for a Park test.
Okay, excuse me.
Nor should it be, because we want to make sure that the instruction, I just want to make sure, I think there's two issues here. One is that Park is a statewide initiative, agree, disagree, however, people, and I'm not putting that on the table because as a parent and as an educator, I have different sides to both. Because I have children who will be absolutely impacted by whatever comes the way with Park. But I do know in North Providence that my understanding is that the technology that we've used has enhanced the teacher's instruction and tools. Students are actively using that technology, and that there is nothing here that is geared, oh, don't touch that, it's just for Park. So I think we can assure the North Providence residents that it's truly a tool and a resource.
I think the assistant superintendent has a comment.
Correct. We are actually not even utilizing every piece of equipment. For example, here at the high school, we are designating certain equipment to be used during the testing. But for example, this library will not be used for testing. So students will have access to this technology throughout the process of testing series. As far as Richard could certainly speak more on that, but as far as the system goes, as long as we have what we need as far as the current updates for Java, for example, and other requirements.
That was
it
my
is,
point.
And that is for all of the computers. So all of our computers receive, updates, and we're all set for that. And Richard has worked tirelessly with me to make sure that all of our computers are ready. But it is a web-based application, and so we don't need specific technology for Park. We've made some icons to make it easy for the kids to go directly to the website. We are doing proctor caching, so it will make it a faster and more efficient use of our technology. But there's not one piece of equipment in our school district, unless it's completely outdated and can't run
So
the
I know-
program itself,
I
but,
didn't go in that direction,
Yeah.
but clearly we are training kids to take a test.
well, they
We are
utilize.
practicing kids to take tests. And we are putting kids on computers so they can take a test about results that we're not getting back until 2017, and we never got results for the practice test. Not a good, in my opinion, it's not good instructional time. And I'm not blaming anybody.
Right.
I'm just pointing out what it is. That's what we do.
But the teachers and the students are using technology daily, both with the interactive projectors and other technology in the classroom.
No, I get
And then
all
in
that.
K through 8, we are utilizing the Easy Tech program to be able to, work with the kids to be able to be
I think my
computer
wife teaches
literate.
that.
Absolutely, she does a fabulous job.
I think you're missing my point, folks. I'm not saying no technology in the school, paper and pencil and chalk. What I am saying is Race to the Top and Park has put a financial burden on our community because of, I don't know, someone's agenda. It wasn't my agenda, and that we are spending an inordinate amount of time, whether it's on these computers, somebody's computers. I'm practicing for a test. I'm practicing how to use computers to answer for one specific test. We're not going to get results from those tests. And then when we do get results, it's going to be a base point from which to grow. Quite frankly, I hope my kids bomb. Then I could grow them.
Ideally,
Because if they go real good, where am I going after that?
ideally, our students shouldn't just be using the technology for the test, and I think that's what Ms. Picard's.
No,
And just to
you
clarify.
can come in my
school-
classroom every day. I
Right,
use computers all day
And
long.
again, I'm not saying opposing or for whatever, but Park, but teachers and school districts have the determination to choose Park paper pencil. So I know, yes, they do. I have schools that I oversee that are doing just the paper pencil test because that's what they decided to do. That's a district decision, and I know in Providence, schools have determined what their needs are, and we have schools that are full-blown technology, schools doing partial, and schools doing just paper pencil. That is, so the idea is, but I do know that, having children in middle school, most of their reading is done on their technology, their iPad, their phone. I know I'm only reading, so I think that one good thing that I do know is that we're finally getting technology into kids' hands and into teachers' hands to use as resources. And although Park is something that we're all going to have to deal with it statewide unless there's any changes statewide, and I suggest that everyone lobby the legislature if they want to see that change. If not, we'll have to do it what we're asked to do. But in the end, I have taken the Park practice test as I've requested all the teachers and principals that are in the school in Providence that I oversee. So we're realistic, but good, bad, or indifferent. I think that the idea is that whatever students should be able to do, they should be able to apply the skills that they're learning. That this idea that the America's doing a multiple choice test no longer exists, shouldn't exist. I don't believe in multiple choice tests, period. But honestly, well, what I'm saying is I don't believe that just one test, POC or kneecap or any other test is going to give us a good grasp of a child anyway. It's an indicator. But moving forward, I am just glad that we had funds to be able to enhance the resources that we have, because I think honestly, and I'm not saying again, I agree with Park, but if it was not for that mandate, we probably would have never seen the technology, ever.
We put in for 1.2 last year and got 600,000. None of that was POC funded.
All right, we're all set on that now. Lisa, you want to say anything else? No? All right, next item.
So I'm done? Okay.
Okay, excuse me, under new business, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the school, sorry, I apologize, we have no bids to approve tonight. Be it resolved that the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee, consider and vote the approved resignations as submitted.
To be clear, before we make the motion.
Yes.
We want to pull one item out.
Right, we're gonna hold on the assistant football coach for more information and then just move forward on the girls' fast pitch assistant coach.
Yep, that's a motion.
And no, there's actually two others.
There it.
So the revised sheet you received in
Yeah, I got it.
your packet. So we have three that were originally on the agenda to be approved tonight. We are removing the first item and tabling that to the next meeting until further notice. So there are two resignations.
And the one for the mathematics teacher.
Correct.
Okay, for motion. Moved by Ron, seconded by Mr. Andriosi and Ms. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
We do not have any retirements this evening. Be resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leave of absences as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriosi.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Iannetta and Mrs. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the layoffs and non-renewals as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriosi, seconded by the entire committee. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote the approved appointments as submitted.
Motion by Mr. De Silva,
Second.
seconded by Mrs.
Motion by. The girls' fast softball.
Okay,
Motion by
Motion
Mr. De
made.
Silva.
We only had one. We had one appointment this.
Okay, you second it? Mr. Picard seconds it. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
We do not have any other layoff rescissions or displacements at this time.
Old business.
Old business.
This is the second reading, that's
This
it.
is the second reading, so there'll be no vote. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, North Providence School Committee, review the second reading of the new and updated policies as submitted.
Okay. Okay. We don't have to vote on that, we're just looking at it and reviewing it. Next item.
So if there's no other questions on those policies, then we'll put the third reading
Yep.
and vote on the next
Right,
agenda.
and the next is use of property.
Use of property. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the use of property requests as submitted.
It says that there's
The-
To be determined, do you need us to?
There are 4 requests this evening, and you received them.
Yeah. Any questions on any of that? Is there something on a waiver there? or something?
There were 2 that, right, asked if if you want to waive their fee for both the,
Yeah.
Who was it, Girl Scouts?
No,
No. My question is the Dr. daycare, because that's the staff training conference for Saturday. It says to be determined, virtually using the virtual library, cafeteria, and 2 classrooms.
That's a kids club that works with us.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm just,
And we have no one in the schools at that time, so we'd have to pay someone.
Well,
that would be
it's,
my question. I think we have basketball running still or no?
yeah, you probably do. I don't know. You
Which
check
school?
with Ms. Falone?
it's possible. We have, it's at Birchwood Library.
Right, it's March.
But you might still be having the gym open for basketball
yeah,
league.
they've been there
Little
every,
kids.
they've been there every Saturday.
Yeah,
No, but this
I
is-
don't think their season's over is what I'm saying. I think the kids are there till April.
I just don't know for sure because I know that the big tournaments this week and I know playoffs are next.
Yeah, that's for the
I'm
older
not
kids, but
sure.
the little ones still go over there.
think
I don't know
they're
either,
done.
so, but Ms. Falone would know.
Yeah, that's why I think we just need to double check. I think the little ones may be done.
So
Why-
if,
why don't-
are we waiving the fee, the use of property charge to Kids Cup?
I think we
And
need to go
do-
first I think it's, if basketball's already there, then we're.
We're gonna
If
wait,
not, Then I think we should come back.
right.
But March 21st.
It would be my suggestion. Just waive the fees. It's for training. They have partnership with us. They service our schools, we work with them, they work with us. It's not a big, and I certainly would waive everything for the Girl Scouts at the bottom.
Okay,
But you know what?
That
There's-
one's already
There's nothing
waived.
there anyway, because that's at night,
Yeah,
right?
but-
so we're waiving the fees, right?
Maybe you should, we could have the superintendent check with the secretary who does all that, Miss Falone, right?
Right.
And
So-
she could tell you if basketball is still there. If there, you don't have an issue. And if they're not there, I
If we
think
need to
should
open
waive
the, if we need to open the building, do we then want to charge a custodian fee? guess
I
is
would
the
say no.
question.
And what about the volleyball?
Sunday.
There's 2 gyms. The third one.
Yeah, I saw that. I would say on that one, I know that that fundraiser is for the the fellow who passed away a few years ago, yes.
Yep.
Um,
We should waive that too.
Say that again?
We should waive that.
Is that double time on Sunday if we have a custodian?
Oh, I don't know. John, what do they get if they work on a Sunday? Oh.
It's here at the high school, so you
One
would just need
person,
one
yeah.
custodian.
Can we back up to the kids club when I have a question?
Okay.
It says Friday setup at 3:30. Does that require a overtime for a janitor to set it up?
No, they're still here at that time on Friday. Second shift is here still at that time, correct.
We're good.
Steven, reading that?
Yeah, probably in the.
It's on,
In the
it's on the sheet that they submitted.
Oh, it's the original. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so what are we actually waiving now?
So I'm gonna guess, like Steven just asked, the Friday setup should be all set because we already have
Yeah.
a custodian on staff. right?
Okay,
And Saturday, I think that if basketball is there, we're good. If basketball isn't there, we're still good. Is that the consensus?
I guess so.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
the only thing you're gonna charge them for is custodian.
Okay.
So I say we check with Ms. Falone. If like Ms. Picard said, if basketball's there, fine. If not, you want to charge it for the custodian and make everything legal, then fine too. I don't have a problem not charging them.
All right, so we're gonna pass this tonight. Is that what we're doing? We're passing the,
Yeah, we can pass it.
And
So just for clarification, so we're going to waive the fee for both of those to be determined. And if there is a custodian, if the buildings are not open and we need a custodian, then on the Sunday, the volleyball tournament fundraiser, you'd like to charge the custodian fee and waive the kids club
do we
or
have-
not?
Can that happen on a Saturday? Oh, no.
What's that, the volleyball?
Curious, 'cause I know
Can we go back and talk about Park?
No.
That was easier.
They may not be able to do it on a Saturday or, you know.
I think we should just waive the fees. None of this is for profit. This is not a dance team coming in. This is not that kind of stuff that we've charged for in the past.
What does a custodian cost for a Sunday, John? Any idea? I know they get double time, you said?
Well, the thing is, we don't know the times either, that's the thing. Do you know how long? That's it.
How about we do this? We ask the young man who put it in to give us more information, a time frame, what he wants to do.
And when is that?
And we pass it back next month. It's for May,
It's not
so.
till May. We could table that one if you'd
Oh,
like.
yeah, we can just continue
Let's ask
that.
the young man who put it in for more information so that we can accommodate
Okay.
him
God bless you.
and not put ourselves in a
All right,
budgetary bind.
we're gonna ask for more information. Okay. So,
So that Henry Foundation.
Yes, the Henry Andrade Foundation, correct. That was the young fellow who passed away 3-4 years ago. He was a student here, and Mr. Scullion still is in contact with the family, and they do fundraisers for his scholarship funds.
all right, we're doing the use of property. We're gonna pass on that one, more information,
More
right?
information.
So so
And-
you're voting tonight to approve and waive all fees for the 3 other use of properties
Correct.
requests that are
Yeah.
in there.
Okay, wanna make that a form of motion, Rod?
Motion made to pass the 3 property requests except for the volleyball tournament. We want more information.
Pending information, okay,
Going to waive property usage and custodial fees.
okay. We have a second on that? Second by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, I have it, so voted. Next. Okay,
Okay. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee, consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
So moved.
moved by Ms. Picard, seconded by Mr. Angiosi. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, I have it, so voted.
We do not have any fundraisers this evening,
Minutes.
and I
Gina, minutes.
believe, Gina, you're up.
I make a motion to seal and approve the executive session minutes for February 4th, pursuant and applicable to provisions of Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4 and 5.
Motion by Ms. Picard, to save the minutes for the appropriate meetings. Discussion, seconded by Mr. Silva. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next time.
And I make a motion to approve the regular session minutes as submitted.
Second.
Motion by, I think it's Mr. Andrew, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Andriozzi. Meeting's adjourned at 8:35.